for the court, spelling your last.
Schaefer Flowers, Flowers.
Can you introduce yourself for the court?
Well, there's not much you need to know about me other than the past 20 years I've pretty much devoted my entire life to the Boone County Sheriff's Department, where I now serve as Chief Deputy Sheriff.
What does this job entail?
Well, I've pretty much assisted on countless investigations throughout my career.
Did any of these investigations stand out to you?
Definitely the most notable of my entire career is the one I spent working on with Mr. Sheriff Hank Hamilton, God rest his soul.
What case was this?
This was the case of the Moore family murders.
How were you involved in this case?
Well, I was part of the lead investigation team at the time and one of the first to respond to the team after receiving an anonymous tip.
Can you tell the court more about this anonymous tip?
It came in at 9:42 p.m. with serious indications of disturbance at the Moore residence, and I remember what it said, word for word. Come quick, real quick, they're gone, real trouble at the Moore place. And oh boy, were they right.
What did you see when you arrived?
When I got there, I saw the 3 dead bodies of the Moore family, Joe, Sarah, and Emerald. All had appeared to be stabbed multiple times.
What did you do then?
From there, I quickly secured the area and in came Hank to take the lead.
How did the investigation proceed?
From here, I focused my attention towards conducting a number of interviews, which did not get me very far. One of them included Mr. Kelly Angle, and as we heard in court here today, he had a corroborated alibi, so not much information came from any of my interviews.
Did you have any information to work with?
Well, we did respond to some possibly related disturbances caused by a group of clowns staying in the Legislative Park.
What did you find about the clowns?
Well, we found they were fans of the rather disturbing group, the Insane Clown Posse, and they referred to themselves as the Juggalos.
What did you do after learning these?
I quickly went back to the house to report my findings when I saw that part of the state park appeared to be on fire.
What was on fire?
A trailer in the middle of nowhere.
Did you know what this trailer was?
Upon later investigation, we did find it to be a meth manufacturing facility.
Did you know how the fire had started?
Yes, by an accelerant.
What's an accelerant?
It can be anything like gasoline, just used to make a fire burn faster.
Was there any useful evidence from the torched trailer?
None, due to the lack of trailer.
How did the investigation continue after this?
Well, we had no evidence from the trailer, so we were a little disappointed in what was going on. So we thought we'd get better footing in the daylight since it was getting dark, so we decided to stop for the night.
How did this pan out?
Pretty terribly. As the sun rose the next morning, the Juggalos fled, and we could never interview any of them.
So how could you continue your investigation?
We really did not have basically anything to go off of, so there wasn't much to be done.
What physical evidence did you have to work with?
Well, we did find some irrationally large, size 20 bloody clown footprints leading up to the Moore residence. And we also found some footprints consistent with Miss Perry Moore, as well as other just regular sized bloody footprints at the scene of the crime. We also found remnants of a clown costume wig at the scene, but that's really all we had to go off of were footprints and strings.
Did you find any forensic evidence?
Yes, we did find some fingerprints, some of which were Mr. Kelly Angle's, which again makes sense if they were there the day of the crime, along with other fingerprints of unknown origin and age. So not much could be done with any of our fingerprints.
Now, I'd like to move on and talk about a map of the area of the crime. May I approach opposing counsel?
You may.
Let the record reflect I am showing opposing counsel what has been previously marked as Exhibit 3. May I approach the witness?
You may.
Let the record reflect I am handing the witness what has been previously marked as Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is the map of Ledger State Park.
How are you familiar with it?
I've been there many, many times.
Is it a true and accurate depiction of Ledger State Park as it was during the course of your investigation?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, the defense offers Exhibit 3 into evidence.
Any objection? No, Your Honor, under stipulations, I have no objections. Let's proceed.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness and the bench to tender evidence?
You may.
Honor, may my witness step down to interact with an enlargement of this exhibit?
She may.
You can stand right here now. Opposing counsel, can you see okay?
Yes, sir.
Can you point out to the court where the clowns were supposed to be staying on this map?
This would be this yellow area here called the camping meadow.
And where was the Moore residence?
That would be this black dot here.
What's that purple dot next to it?
That there's the hollow tree.
What's the significance of the hollow tree?
That's where later evidences came to light earlier this year.
Was there any evidence of the clowns going between these locations?
Yes, we did find bloody footprints leading up to the Moore place, right around here, in that well-trodden area.
And in your experience, were all of these locations within walking distance of each other?
Oh yeah, I mean, I walked it.
Thank you. You may sit down. Considering all the evidence, what conclusion did you draw about the murder and the arson at this time?
Well, our best bet was that the Juggalos had a reckless night and booked it. You'd have to be very misguided to try to place that blame on anyone else due to the evidence or lack thereof.
Did you have any reason to believe that Kelly Engel murdered the Moore family?
Absolutely not. We had no evidence incriminating them at the scene, and their alibi was corroborated.
So why are we in court today, 18 years later?
Well, new evidence has apparently came to light, and Harry Moore has apparently recalled some things that were not present in our original investigation.
What do you know about Perry Moore now?
Not much. I heard her say she's an actor, and she's acted in some things with strikingly similar storylines to our original investigation.
How do you know these things are similar?
Well, I'm an avid reader, and Perry's actually acted in the movie adaptations of the books that I've read.
What books would these be?
The Witch Elm by Tana French, and the Prey novels by John Sanford.
What are some aspects of those books that are similar to today's case?
Well, the Witch Elm definitely has a hollow tree, and the Prey novels have clowns in them with very similar aspects to the clowns in our case.
Thank you, Your Honors. I have no further questions at this time. May I take a moment to deconstruct the law?
Yes. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
You may.
Hello, Ms. Flowers. My name is Doug Sohu, and I'll be asking you a few questions today. To begin, I'd like to start with the interviews that you failed to hold with the Juggalos. So, a field opportunity that you had for interviews with the Juggalos, correct?
Yes.
And the impression that they had made with one of the locals was one of rather exuberance due to the time they spent partying. Fair?
Yes, they were crazy.
And with this, they were often quite distracted due to their partying. Fair enough?
Yes, they caused major disturbances around the area.
So, it would have been possible to go into their camp and steal a clown costume. Couldn't it?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
The witness will have to testify on whether she does or does not know the answer to this question.
If she knows, she can say so. Overruled.
I suppose it's possible. I don't know who would want to do that, though.
Yet even with this, you did not bother interviewing them to see if they found any intruders.
We did
correct?
intend on interviewing them, but they fled the next day after the murders, so we couldn't interview any of them.
And this is because you chose to postpone it to the morning instead of conducting interviews that night, correct?
Yes, at the time we did not think they'd want to leave the scene so soon. We thought we'd have till at least the morning to interview them.
And it was your choice that led to this, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay, now I want to talk about your relationship with late Sheriff Hank Hamilton. You were trained under Sheriff Hamilton, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
And you held him in quite high regard, correct?
He was amazing. Yes.
And this is largely because a lot of his conclusions were largely hunch-based and not evidence-based, right?
He was an amazing detective, and this is his one unsolved case.
So is that a yes to my question?
Yes.
Now, he held the view that Kelly Engel did not commit the murders, correct?
Yes, he did.
And this is the view that you held on to during the investigation and continue to hold on to now, correct?
Yes. Based on the evidence we had, or lack thereof, we had no reason to suspect Kelly Engel.
Even though that Miss Barrymore's memories directly blame Kelly Engel for the murders, and the evidence recovered by Mr. Davenport blames him. Sure.
Barrymore did not remember anything at the time of our original investigation. We had no knowledge of a hollow tree and had none of Perry's memories to go off of.
But the view that you hold now, even though all of this evidence blames, you still count Mr. Engel innocent. Sure.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, now I would like to discuss one more thing from your investigation. Your Honor, may I approach the bench to retrieve evidence? Violation has already been tendered.
You may. Let the record reflect I'm handing the witness a copy of Exhibit 5. You recognize this document, don't you?
Yes, I do.
It's the autopsy report of the Moore family, correct?
Correct.
And on this document, it states, quote unquote, no extraneous DNA samples found with regards to the Moore family, correct?
Yes, it does.
And this could lead to the conclusion that Joe and Sarah and Emma Moore did not fight back against the person who came into their home, right?
Yes, it can.
Which means that it most likely was someone that they were very close and familiar with.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
The witness can testify whether they do or do not have an answer to this question, and therefore does not require speculation.
Your Honor, the witness is asking my witness to testify about a relationship of a person she doesn't know of a person that she doesn't know who was on the scene, and a family that she has met only through the interactions of this investigation. So she cannot testify as to how they would react in this situation.
I'll sustain the objection in part. I think this particular family, the witness would not be able to testify, but in a general or hypothetical sense, the witness would be able to testify as to how people who know each other would interact in that situation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
May I redirect my question to that person?
You may.
So, in a hypothetical sense, a family who was getting attacked by someone they were close with would most likely not be able to react at first, right?
Well, based off the autopsy report and the lack of DNA within the fingernails, this could lead to a bunch of different conclusions. It could have been a surprise attack. They could have been so caught off guard that they didn't have time to fight back.
But
Really, anything's possible.
a possibility is that they did not fight back, correct?
Yes.
So, the only person reasonably that was close enough to the Moore family.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
How so?
The witness does not know the Moore family very well, and so they cannot testify as to who may be a potential killer. They cannot testify as to who may be close enough to the Moore family to commit this killing. They can only testify based off the evidence they found.
Overruled. You can bring it up on recross or redirect. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Do you want to push me first? My question?
Yes, please.
So the only person close enough to the Moore family that out of Hank Hamilton's 4 theories would be Mr. Kelly Engel, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
So out of Hank Hamilton's theories of a cartel, a juggalo,
Objection, Your Honor, lack of foundation.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
The witness has the knowledge of Hank Hamilton's theories, and therefore has this one. And that's testified.
Your Honor, may I respond?
You may.
I ask that opposing counsel lay down the foundation as we haven't established that or very well established any of these 4 theories other than the ones I asked about on direct.
Very well. Lay the additional foundation, please.
Yes, Your Honor. So Hank Hamilton's theories were a drug cartel, right?
Yes.
A juggalo, correct?
Yes.
And Kelly Engel,
Yes.
and Perry Moore, correct?
Yes.
And Perry Moore testified that at the time her parents were murdered, she was up in her room reading a book, correct?
Correct.
So, out of the 3 remaining theories, Kelly Engel is the only one who is close enough to the Moore family to be a reasonable suspect in this case. correct?
Well, Perry Moore testified that they were up in their room, but Kelly Engel also testified that they were not there and were not murdering the Moore family. And based on what I've heard here in court, also the Juggalos have been around the Moores, so I could say any of those people would be possible suspects.
So you are saying that a clown, a gang of clowns that Joe Moore has repetitively shown a disgust to, would be close enough to him to get in his house and murder them without a possible fight, right?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions at this time.
Redirect.
Yes, Your Honor. Sheriff Flowers, what did you know about the Moore family?
Well, not much. I didn't know them personally and had never spent any time with them. And they seemed like a lovely family, and I'm so sorry that I got introduced to them under these circumstances.
Did you know anything about their relationships?
No.
I'd like to talk more about your investigation and what you had available to you. First of all, who was the lead of this investigation?
Sheriff Hank Hamilton.
So who was ultimately making the decisions?
Sheriff Hank Hamilton.
One last question for you today. Did you have any of Perry's memories during this time?
No, we did not.
What evidence did you have to work with?
All we had were the evidence that was consistent with clowns. We had size 20, irrationally large, bloody footprints, and costume wig traces.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions today.
Recraft.
No, Your Honor.
Witness is excused.